Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this world. My name's Jade, and this is the Rant. And today we're talking about MIDI. Don't fear the MIDI. I'm going on a little bit of a tear about my experiences with MIDI and how it works, I guess. Let's do it. Hello, welcome to the show. My name is Jade and this is The Rant, and of course I hope you're doing okay. Welcome. It is Monday morning here in Australia, Sunday for the rest of you outside of Australia, and I get to rant and do all this stuff and talk a bunch of nonsense and all that, so hopefully you can strap in and kick back, have a bit of fun in the chat or whatever as I talk about a little topic like we do each and every week. Now, those of you who are old school here on the channel will remember that for the longest time, I used to open the show every day with an artist song. And, you know, I did that for a really long time. Then we moved it to the end of the show and all that jazz. And kind of it just disappeared because, you know, doing tutorials, we're here for the tutorial. But I'm introducing that back to the rant, I think. So from today, we're going to close the show with we'll do it. I think what we'll do is each and every week on the rant, we'll close the show with a brand new track that's just been released. And today's, the first one to kick it all off is a song called, we're going to close the show with it, Night Tremors by Tremor Bear, Clayton Von Kluge, and Hugh Caldwell, which is only just dropped about 2 hours ago. So we'll do that, yes. Lots of cool stuff coming up on the channel this week, including finally, at the end of this week, on Friday, US UK time, the big Loopy Pro update has happened. 2.0 is out, and that's kind of inspired this show today because what is the new feature of Loopy Pro? MIDI! Yay! And MIDI is incredibly powerful, and you may not have tapped into MIDI yourself. Let's say hello to folks who are here and talk some shite, shall we? Studio 6+1, oh, there he is in the house. Chris Lane Sr. says, I was looking at a MIDI keyboard last week. I need this primer. We will talk about MIDI devices as well in this. You are correct, Chris. Thomas Christ, what's going on, man? You can do these things. They do help the channel and all that stuff. Hello, Paws and Guitars. Hello, Pete Johns from a secret location who says, I'm Pete Johns and I have MIDI phobia. What do the channels mean? You know, that's... we scoff. And for the longest time, man, are you going to hear my MIDI story? My MIDI story was ladled in threats. You know, don't use MIDI. What are you, gay? What? I guess I'm not. Okay, I better not use MIDI. Oh, okay. So I'm not joking, but we'll get there. Denise, hello. Man, the things people use against you to stop you from doing something so innocent as like playing MIDI. It's so weird. People are fucking mental. Anyway, Trevor Bear, you are my featured artist today. Carlos, welcome. Joanna Lynn, always a pleasure to see you. Okay, so MIDI. What is it? What is it? Shall we do a little breakdown? MIDI is a music, the term for MIDI is Musical Instrument Digital Interface. That is it broken down. Hello, Jenny and Ron in the chat as well. I see you there, Gary Hubs. Eyeballs up. Eyeballs up. So, man, I feel your pain. I just want to say this. I feel your pain, Gary, so much. You talked about, you know, your shoulder the other day on the show that I was lurking at, that I'm always lurking at. And I felt your pain, man, because I'm going in for a surgery soon. I'm not going to be able to sing possibly for 6 weeks. It's, dude, I haven't really talked about it much here on the channel. I talked about it on Patreon, but yeah, I feel your pain, my friend. Anyway, MIDI. MIDI. So it stands for Musical Instrument Digital Interface. It's the de facto standard protocol for communication between electronic music instruments, computers, and related devices. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. Yeah. So its invention, it's had a few hands in it as well, but the notable inventor of MIDI goes by the name of Dave Smith. If I can get my shit together here. Dave Smith. Now, an incredibly unique name, something you wouldn't hear around very much. Good old Dave Smith. David Joseph Smith was the American engineer and founder of the synthesizer company Sequential. Smith created the first polyphonic synthesizer with fully programmable memory, the Prophet 5, which had a major impact on the music industry. So obviously a big player in this. Without him, we wouldn't be here. MIDI in 1981, Smith set out to create a standard protocol for communication between electronic musical instruments from different manufacturers worldwide. So that was the beginning. It was all about these electronic musical instruments, because remember, there was a huge boom in electronic music. We had so many big bands in the 70s taking up electronic music with the Moog. The Moog was the thing, yeah? It came in and everyone's like, whoa, what is this? And then through the 80s, electronic music really exploded. And I remember it too, right? So here am I. Look at all you midophiles coming out of the... I hope you're not on the list. the MIDI file list. Oh, God. Why have I gone down this path? And Chem OK arrives as well, the MIDI master. G'day, Field Tone Audio. Good to see you. Jamie Lynn, hello. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of smart-ass comments in here. Thomas says, MIDI is awesome, except when it doesn't work, and it should. But doesn't for no logical reason. I may have experience with this. I think we all have. Yeah, I think we all have. Ultimately, I mean, you know, you can make the disclaimer of everything. That nothing's perfect. Nothing, man. There's going to be problems everywhere, yeah? Hugh Caldwell, featured artist for today, has hit the room. I'll be closing with the brand new track from Hugh Caldwell, Tremor Bear and Clayton Von Kluge, which we now do once again here on this show. So ultimately, the beginning. Now, I'm not a scholar in this shit. I know nothing, yeah? So I'm just winging it here. So I'm not going to go too deep into all this stuff. But the idea was between musical instruments, because these instruments were taking over. Yeah, and then we had, of course, software that came out. So, you know, a lot of this went through a lot of other hands, MIDI, if I come back here. So, Dave, in 1981, Dave Smith's Sequential Circuits proposed a universal synthesizer interface in a white paper to the Audio Engineering Society, aiming to standardize synthesizers so they talked to each other. That was the point. They want things to talk to each other. So there's a communication, much like there's a communication between a guitar into a pedal into an amp, yeah? So we want to communicate. So they talk to each other. Later that year in 1982, Smith collaborated with Roland founder Ikutaro Kikuchi. That'll do. And input from Bob Moog, Tom Oberum, to refine the protocol. So a lot of work went into reforming this. At the Winter NAMM show in January 1983, a Prophet 600 was linked to a Roland Jupiter 6 to demonstrate the first MIDI 1.0 standard, making the official birth of MIDI. Now, a lot of people talk about Cubasis, the original Steinberg software on the Atari ST. So this is, I'm from memory, that this is where software actually started to become a thing. So you could actually put MIDI in, and you had a piano roll and were able to do all this kind of stuff. So and on from there, I'm going to break into my story around MIDI as well, because I'm not an expert. Balls, hello, Mix Club, good to see you. Now, I remember, for most of you who know my experience playing music, I came from a background where I sung a lot of the time in my childhood, and did a lot of acting classes and that. I was a bit of a theatre kid, sung in theatre and all this kind of stuff, but never fit anywhere. I felt like I never fit. And that wasn't until somebody played me some metal. And once I heard some metal, I automatically found the music that interested, that expressed how I feel, that got out the anger, got out confusion. I felt like I was in the right world listening to metal. It was the one music that reached out to me and hit my heart, made it sing or growl, whatever you want. And the people around it too seemed to be in my orbit. and work for me. So my journey making music from the beginning included no MIDI. So the very first time I recorded music was in a recording studio, and we paid something like $600 to record a demo and go in. So there was no MIDI. It was just a fucking recording desk. Everything was on the tape. Remember, I'm turning 54 this year. So yeah, MIDI was not a thing. And it was all about the metal, and it was all about performance. It was all about, I know, right? What a shocker. Learning something. And I'm not saying anything about MIDI that you don't have to learn to play, because without MIDI, I would not know so much more about music. Like, if it wasn't for MIDI, I wouldn't even know any chords on a piano or be able to play basic stuff, you know? So MIDI actually ended up teaching me a lot. But as a metalhead, you know, you went into a studio, you laid down guitars. There were no computers. Listen to me. Fucking clouds. There were no computers. There were no waveforms that you could see to see how large. Is that waveform too big? Is it peaking out? It was all fucking on a desk, and light meters and everything going to tape. So that was what I knew. And I recorded multiple times in recording studios and played gigs, and, you know, we never had any MIDI or anything like that. And then eventually I bought myself a Tascam 4-track and started using that. So again, there's no MIDI in that. You're bouncing tracks. It's all audio. So it was never in my orbit. And then I remember finally downloading many years later, finally getting Cubasis and opening it up and going, oh, what the fuck? I have no idea what's happening here. What is this? I was very, very confused by MIDI. And, I'd started using things like Cool Edit on my computer. I mean, even in the day, for those of you who don't know, one of my bands, FMC, let's see if we can dig it up here. Shush, Siri, I didn't call you. FMC, give us a sec, guys. I won't say the full name of the band, because people get offended. So this is one of my bands, FMC. There you go. You can see the name yourself and work it out. We released an album where we, for the first time, I guess I used MIDI. This was in 1999, this album, and it was this album here, 1999. You can see it was officially released. And I guess this was the first time I ever used MIDI, but it actually wasn't normal MIDI. It was this program, and I'll see if I can find it for you. It was this program called Music 2000. Now, some of you may know this as Music, what was it called? In the US, I think it was called something else. Here in Australia and the UK, it was called Music 2000. I think in the US, it was called MTV Music Generator, right? So it has a slightly different name. And what this was, here it is. I think this is the one. Yeah, so it's a music sequencer, okay? So this is you would load it into your PlayStation, the original PlayStation, or it came on PC as well too. And you could load this in, and it had, look, 16 channels of MIDI. This was the first MIDI sequencer I used. And let me tell you how fucking fun it was. Oh, those good times. Let me have a sip of coffee and remember the good times. Nah, no good times. Painful as fuck. Why? Because you had to move around everything with a PlayStation controller. My first introduction to MIDI was dog shit. I hated it. I'm like, left and right, X button, triangle to delete MIDI notes. It was very frustrating. But what was cool about it, we didn't have a drummer. So with this app, we were able to just use this to just program all our drums. And it was done. It was the first time I actually used a virtual musician in a band. And it was done. And it was so cool. It's actually, when you listen back to it now, it's really awful. It's really terrible. Blast beats made with a shitty PlayStation wannabe MIDI program. It was terrible. But it gave us an idea to now play live and have a television behind us with a PlayStation and a guy who just presses X for each song. And it was a gimmick as well. And so my introduction into MIDI, using it for the first time, was painful to set up, but heaps of fun because people thought this was such a new, cool idea that they flocked to our gigs for some reason because the music sucks. I don't know why. She swallowed a fly. Perhaps she'll die, says Sean Chandler. Hello, Sean, and hello to Ali as well. Have I missed anyone who's covered by CQ? G'day to you as well. E-Urban, MIDI is going to destroy music. It's the end. You know, and people tell you this shit though, right? People tell you this shit. And a lot of my friends at the same time, like metal was a different zine back in the beginning, right? Because metal, we got ostracized as metalheads, kind of like trans people today and gay people. It was like we're all devil worshippers. We're all drug addicts. We're all criminals. I didn't really see it that much, but whatever. But we got labelled as bad people for the music that we made. And I think, I don't know the full psychology of it, but you would think overall a group of people who really don't set out to create any harm to others, just make music and enjoy the music that we all like, eventually kind of get their back up when you're getting told, hey, you're a devil worshipper. And it's kind of like, you know what I think the collective comeback was for metalheads back in this time? I think it was, yeah, well, you make music with MIDI. It's not real. It's not fucking music. Do you hear the parallels of today? Not saying anything. Suno. Oh, yeah. Wow. What a parallel. Here we are. Here we are in a place where we're saying the same thing again, but it's different this time because, you know, over time, I was able to escape the dumb mentality of if it's not metal, it's gay. All right. If it's done with MIDI, it's not real. All right, sure. If it's loops, it's crap. All right, it's not music. But you learn over time, I guess, with age, most things you pick up that realize that is just absolute fucking bullshit. I think more of the time it was a deflection of like, hey, you keep saying I'm demonic, then I'll just say the stuff you make isn't music. But so MIDI was largely out of my wheelhouse, partly because I didn't understand it. Secondly, I actually don't think I wanted to understand it. It was still in my head as this sucks, this is stupid, this is not real music. Yeah. And it wasn't until the first time I got an iPad, 2010, I'm thinking 2010, 29 or 2010, something like that, 2010 I think. My first iPad and I downloaded GarageBand for the first time was like, oh my God, what is going on? What can I do with MIDI? And for the first time also, I think the difference, why MIDI seemed more easily accessible with something like GarageBand off the bat was because it looked like a toy. It didn't look like anything else I'd seen. It looked very easy and not confusing. It didn't look threatening, right? Where for the longest time I kind of looked at MIDI and was like, oh, I don't understand how to do it. It's shit. What is going on here? Is this a bug? Is this a bug? When I go into my GarageBand folder and there's nothing in there, yes. So this is GarageBand iOS. And the first time I did this was opening up Alchemy Synth in here on iPad. And was like, ooh, look at that. Isn't that interesting? And then hit record for the first time. Okay. Seems to make a little bit of sense. How can I edit this? Oh, wow. So it's just blocks. It's just blocks. For some reason, and oh yeah, look, I had tried, this brings up a good point. I tried this, and I think I'd made a couple of things with FL Studio, back when it was called Fruity Loops, and this FL Studio stuff. And still just didn't get my head around it. I guess it took something like GarageBand, where look how big and clunky and you know, GarageBand is. GarageBand is a very incredibly powerful tool that doesn't have all the whistles and bells and all that kind of stuff, But more than anything, for me, more than anything, what GarageBand on iOS did for me, it got me over my fear of MIDI. It really did. And the interesting thing is too, GarageBand doesn't really have a lot of good MIDI options, especially like with velocities and stuff like that. But it's very simple. I can tap and I can delete notes so easy and put notes in. I can tap notes in, I can play notes in. I got a little pencil up here that I can just, if I want to make chords, like I'll tell you another good thing, like if you are somebody who struggles with keys and all that kind of stuff, just to work out how to play a chord and just mess around has been invaluable. And what this did for me, using MIDI on GarageBand, was it got me thinking more about how my songs are structured and how, you know what, they don't always have to be a guitar, a bass, drums. I can have keys, I could have strings, and I love a good set of strings, you know, especially a G string. But let me close this thing out of here. But it opened up my mind to where I could go with music, and it changed everything for me. Like, but in saying that, it created more fear because there was a lot of things about MIDI I still don't understand, and I don't know if I really wanted to understand. I guess I could if I looked into it more. But for the most part, I've just learnt as I go and try and find out more and more. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there too who open up some things and go, oh, I don't understand how MIDI routes. It's confusing. Not everybody's at the same fucking level. And a lot of the stuff I learned about MIDI was right here on this show. Throwing myself in the deep end and trying to do tutorials for apps I had fucking no business even looking at. But that's the thing, isn't it? You learn by doing instead of just generating AI fucking music. So, this really changed my music. It helped me in so many ways learn piano, understand where all the notes are, play drums. It got me so excited I even went out and bought an electronic drum kit. This is my second electronic drum kit, actually. It got me learning drums. It got me learning, trying to learn so many different things, but over time, I've got to understand MIDI a whole lot more. And I'm going to run through a few things, just a few kind of things of MIDI that you may not understand or, you know, will open the doors for you to move forward with MIDI, because there are multiple. The thing is with MIDI is it's not just one thing. There's a whole lot of different things you can do with MIDI, right? Even like things like this, changing scenes. See this? I'm going to start over here, not with music. So if I go to my overhead view, see this thing here? This is called a Stream Deck. This is what I use to switch scenes here on the show. Excuse me. So this little Stream Deck here has all these buttons across the top, and I can like click. See, I'm going to click this one up here, and it's going to bring you back to a close-up of me. And I can press back down here on this button, and it brings you back to this overhead camera shot. I can do so many actions on here, but not only can I flip scenes in OBS, this is MIDI as well. I can set this up for something like Pro Tools or any Reaper or any kind of DAW that I'm using, and I can assign buttons on this to control. I can even set up, I can even open things on a computer. Like each morning, there's one button I press, which is on this next page over here. I press this one button, and it opens up OBS, it opens up YouTube, it opens up like 4 things just from one button press. MIDI is built into even something like this, the Stream Deck. Over here, this thing. This is the, I'll jump out, get this, can I get this camera out of the way? No, I can't. How do I do this? Kill this camera. Is it this one? There we go. So even this is my Rodecaster that everything goes through, the whole show goes through. The pads that are on here that make all the sounds. So there's a whole bunch of pads here. Stop. They are all MIDI pads as well too. All of these dials on here, the dials up and down, they are all MIDI as well. MIDI is in a lot of things these days, even like, so I could control like something like Pro Tools or whatever, or even on Logic. If this is connected, I could set this up to control, hit play for Logic, could stop Logic, record, all these pads on this, I can do that as well. So MIDI is not only just for music, you can set it up for lighting, right? Light shows, live performances, because and even in, do I talk about this? I'll skirt around it. Even in the band I'm in, we have stuff in the band that I'm currently in, which I'm not allowed to talk about. We have a drummer, right, in our band that isn't human. It's a gigantic spider. It's a robot spider that was made by the band. And live, the spider, the robot, actually plays drums live. So all the drums behind us, we don't have a real drummer. We just have this spider with a drum kit. It's a robot. And it actually plays in time with us, with its legs moving. But how do we do that? Well, we have a YouTube channel, which I'm not going to share with you, which has been showing how this spider was made, how this robotic spider was made. And wouldn't you know, it's all done with MIDI. All done with motherfucking MIDI. It's amazing. It really is amazing. So basically how they're doing it is they're doing MIDI over the air. Who knew? MIDI over the fucking air? What? So, and the way this is working, the setup is we have like a place where all this MIDI, I don't know the name of it, whatever it's called, all the MIDI goes to, and then that gets sent out to an actual mechanical device that has a whole bunch of pistons connected to it via air tubes, and it's connected to a fucking pressure tank, an air pressure tank. And the air pressure tank gets filled up before the show. This huge fucking tank, man. It's loud as fuck as it fills up and compresses the air. And then once the shows we're ready to go, it's turned on and all that air gets pumped into the pistons, through the air compressor, and the MIDI's played, and it triggers the pistons, which control the beaters on the drums. I know. In good time, folks, you'll see it. There are videos up of the construction of it. It's amazing. It's fucking amazing, the amount of work that has gone into this. And again, I just sit there and watch when I'm at rehearsal and go, fucking hell, man, that's amazing. MIDI is controlling a fucking robot. Who knew you could do that kind of stuff? Studio 6 says, so the drum sounds come from a real drum kit. Yes, if we wanted to, absolutely. Absolutely. We've tried it with a real drum kit, and we've tried it using the samples as well. So there's a backup in case something goes wrong. These are things you have to think about. But it just shows how cool MIDI is. Now, for the rest of this, let me just close out a GarageBand. We'll talk about some of the things you can do with MIDI as well. So the typical things is note on, note off. Yeah, so obviously there's going to be a note on and a note off. Looking at a keyboard like this and hold down a note, it's going to send a MIDI note. Let go, it's going to release the note. On, off. You can even see in the light here on this keyboard. So when this is pressed, note on, note off, note on, note off, note on, note off, note on, note off. Yeah? So you can see it actually happening when you click this. And not only can it do note on, note off, but you can control the velocity of it, the pressure within this little button. You can come in there, you've seen the squares, the little dots that we put in there, right? How should I do it with, let's do it with Logic. I'll open up Logic for now. Then I'm going to go into AUM. Hey, thanks for hanging out today if you are watching and enjoying the stuff that's going on. Let's clear that off and just bring in a new project. There we go. So I'm going to open a MIDI track here. So this is what happens when you open Logic, and with most DAWs, you get the choice to add audio or MIDI session players. We'll just pick a MIDI instrument. So the beautiful thing about MIDI is the one thing I should have started off is it doesn't make any sound. But I think some people get tripped up when they first get into MIDI and go, "Hey, where's the sound?" It needs something to make sound through. It's just binary. It's just note on, note off. You know, it's just being sent somewhere, but it actually needs to have some kind of sound. Hello, Zach Thong. So you can see here, if I just move my camera out the way. So this is just a simple MIDI track. Don't know why I'm coughing my head off this morning. Simple MIDI track. And of course, down the bottom here, when I open up this section, you've got MIDI effects, which we'll cover, instrument, and audio effects. We're going to kick off with an instrument because, see, if I play the keys now on here, there's no instrument inserted, so let's just throw in like a piano, simple stuff. Now I've added an instrument. I've got an on-screen keyboard here, and I also have an off-screen keyboard. And you can see on the on-screen, my playing is matching what's happening here. It's a direct representation, yeah? And how is this connected? Well, there used to be a standard with MIDI, and I think, is it on here? Yeah, so if I can rip this up and go full screen, like that. These two sockets here used to be they still are exactly the MIDI ins and outs, so to connect this. But these days, MIDI has changed, and now it's all, you can do it via USB as well. So, and it's a two-way street, where this one was a in-out situation, where MIDI has compacted everything into one cable, basically, to send both back and forward, yeah? So that's how I'm sending these MIDI messages to Logic, because it's coming out of a USB and going into the iPad. And you can notice how hard I play to when I play soft. And that is the velocity that is added into MIDI that you can mess about with. So to try and recreate, that's essentially what this is doing. Not only is it a tool for sending data back and forward, but to create the reality of a fucking piano. And it does it pretty well. The thing is, with this, it also introduced things like quantization. Wow, what is quantization? Quantization allows you to take the MIDI, because let's show you what happens. So when you're recording MIDI in here, you've got a grid. Everything's in bars. So you can see we've got all our sections here, and it's all into a grid. So we're playing in here. Now, if I play in a performance and it's terrible, right, terrible notes, just to make a point, but it's all out of time as well. It's all not sitting on the lines there, so it's not going to sound right. Well, quantization is a thing that's introduced through MIDI. We can come over here, select this file, quantize the shit out of it, and try and put it all on the actual sections. And you'll see this all just changed. So now when we pop up here, everything's been moved around. Now we can change the swing of this. We can make this. So see how the notes are all changing here? If I change a quarter note. Now, what does that mean by changing a quarter note? Changing a quantized by a half note. You'll see the grid change, right? Everything moves across the grid differently. But now, if I play this back, it is horrible. All the notes are all wrong. Like, that's something that I can't change unless I move them around. But it's more pleasing. It's actually put into an order, so it's on the grid. And again, what's really nice about MIDI is if you make a mistake, you can just grab things and move them around wherever you want. And you can hear when I tap on the difference of these, hear how soft that is compared to this one that's really loud. Well, as I said, you can change the velocity. So if I come up here and click velocity, let's zoom in on this so you can just see. You can see these lines here. This is telling you how hard I played that note. So I can come in here once on velocity and I can bring these up and down, which is perfect for someone like me who can't play keys for shit. I can't play keys for shit. So whatever I play in, if I wanted to just play the bass notes in of a song, I can do that now. Yeah, this is the beauty of MIDI above anything else, is that I can just, so let's say I want to play this C over and over as a bass note. I can hit record. And record those notes in, even though they've gone over the top of something else there. Let's fix that. Do that again. That'll do. And there's our notes in there. Now, if I want to go in and play something else over the top, I can do that. And those notes will stay there. So I might want to come over here and play something else in now that we have those notes. And you'll notice it's put those notes in up here, right? So you can keep going over and over and over and over and over and over and building up a song without having any skills of playing. So this is how it helped me with making music, yeah, because I'm able to just play. Even if I don't know how to play the chord, I can just do it one at a time and nobody's ever going to know, right? This is the beautiful thing. And if I don't like this piano, if I don't like this bloody piano, I can come in here and I can change it to whatever the fuck I want. That's MIDI. That's the beauty of MIDI. I can come in here, take this piano tech thing and say, no, you know what? I'm not really into that. Let's change this to a symphonic. And now, I can have any instrument I want, drums, whatever I want. The thing is, you'll need to start to understand is where the MIDI numbers and such. So, I mean, this is today's not a tutorial on MIDI. That's definitely what this is not. It is more of just a reminder of how cool MIDI is. So I'm going to bounce over here. So we talked a little bit there about putting notes in and velocities. But not only that, I'll jump over to AUM, I think, for this. Here we go. Here's AUM. Now, I use this a lot every day on this channel to demo apps. Why? Because AUM's very unique. It's not like any other app. It's fantastic for MIDI. It's fantastic for noodling. It's actually fantastic for so many things. As I said, there's nothing quite like AUM. And AUM focuses heavily on MIDI. You can also record audio in here as well. But what AUM does give you is a look into how MIDI works and routing, which will help you for like doors, other doors, because they all work the same way. What's up here at the top with AUM is this little squiggly bit. If I click on this, this gives you the MIDI routing page. Because MIDI needs to be connected. Yeah, it needs to come from somewhere to another place. It needs notes to go into something that it takes those notes. So there's multiple ways you can do this. Now, when I open this grid without anything in here, you can see it's got a whole lot of things like this little, I'll zoom in here, these little icons here. These are all the external things I have plugged in. You can see keyboard, my Code 9 keyboard, my mini fuse. And they have a little option with the little MIDI icon. Then we've got a AUM source. We've got a virtual in, right? So Loopy Pro says a virtual. We've got a keyboard. Again, this is an on-screen keyboard that sends MIDI as well. Thomas says, no, never thought of using Stream Deck for outside or live streaming. There's heaps of stuff you can do with it, Thomas. And they just updated the Stream Deck software. Oh, my Lord. The new stuff you can do with Stream Deck. Stream Deck's a beast. So how would I connect things? This gives you, I'm going to show you with this, a really good representation of how MIDI connects, yeah? So if I create a new audio track here and I put in a piano, so these are MIDI instruments here. So here's our piano. I need a way to play it, right? Because at the moment, there it is. There's no input. So you'll see me do this on the show all the time. Add a piano, come up here, and I need to connect a keyboard. I can connect the on-screen keyboard or an external keyboard. Yeah, so here's the on-screen keyboard, which I can bring up from the bottom. Nice. Or I can connect an external keyboard. Ins and outs. So this is known as an in, right? Because we are sending or out, whatever you want. I don't know what I'm talking about. You can see this by using something like a MIDI, let's come over here, by using a MIDI processor. So MIDI processor apps that are made like by Chem OK, who's here. Chem's got heaps of them, right? So if we go and search Bud, like Bounce Bud, Melody Bud, these are MIDI processors. So these generate either random generators or something like helium that you can use like a DAW. But if I use Melody Bud here, this in itself is not going to make any sound. This is just going to generate MIDI notes. And as you can see, octaves, velocities, gates, ratcheting, it can control so much. It's so ridiculous. Glides, all this kind of stuff. If I put in a few notes here, just go pump in a few notes like so randomly, still probably going to sound good. Now this needs to send out to the piano. So you'll see here when I open this up, Melody Bud, it has two sections, the MIDI input and the MIDI output. So what are we doing? We're sending notes out, right? So this is going to generate notes that go to the piano. So we're going to say MIDI out, and we're going to send that to our piano. So now when I hit play up here, these notes are being sent to that piano. As a good example, I can even come in here and change the octaves, all through MIDI. We talked about velocity. Currently, all these are set to, every note is set to 90. Now, velocity goes from 0 to 127, right? So the loudest it's ever going to go is 127. You can see that number here. Let's make this that big. We can bring them all down. Another thing that's been added to MIDI, which I think is so cool, is you'll see it a lot now, is the word humanize. What is humanizing MIDI? When you add humanization, it moves the MIDI around. I'll just stop this. It moves the MIDI off the grid slightly. So it doesn't move it like so drastically that the song sounds, the piece that you've written, the melody that you've written sounds unrecognizable. What it does is it tries to make you sound more human and be off the grid. Because what happened, and this happened to a lot of metal bands, yeah? Oh, good idea, Thomas. We'll run that. Thanks, mate. Let's run the ad. You can avoid the ad by becoming a YouTube Premium subscriber. It gives me a chance to talk about this too, what we got coming up. Tomorrow, friends, we're taking a look at this. This is Transmission and Beautifully Broken, 2 brand new sound packs for Soundbox. So that is happening this week. I don't think I've got any other thumbnails made, but I think we're taking a look at some Frames, has new in-app purchases, and Loopy Pro is happening on Friday, US UK time, and our interview this week is with Ivan Idea. All the thumbnails will be up later today. Boom. Where was I? I forgot where I was now. Velocity, somewhere around there. Velocity and stuff. Things. All right, let's just move on. So you can change the velocity. Oh, humanization, yeah? So it takes it slightly off the grid. There's a lot of metal bands who got into me. There's the irony of this, right? As I said at the beginning, a lot of metal bands back in the day, MIDI, get the fuck away from me. Kind of like AI music, get the fuck away from me, weirdo. But a lot of metal bands don't have drummers. So as they picked up MIDI, a lot of metal bands now use MIDI for their drums. There's such great sounds out there. But the problem was they were all making their drums on the grid. And every fucking song sounded so perfect that it sounded like a machine. So you started to see things like humanization, which slightly takes things off the grid to make it sound like that imperfection, because no matter what, that's the thing. The thing that always confused me about MIDI was I always had this idea was that it was on the grid all the time. There was, or it sounded stupid. But I think we know now that when it's on the grid, it can sound too perfect. You know what I mean? So you can do things like gating as well. Like if I come back over here, you've got gating. So if I hit play on this, you can hear some notes are longer than others. They're being cut off. You've got things like ratcheting. Which adds an extra note to it. So these apps are a really good example of the things that MIDI can do. Another thing I want to talk about, because we don't have much time left. Again, this is not a tutorial on MIDI. This is just a reminder of just MIDI rocks. Since I started doing this, I love MIDI so much. I get so excited over it. I get excited over generative stuff. Anything that creates MIDI is very exciting to me. That's just the way it is. But one thing that confused me for the longest time was MIDI channels. Because not only can you send with MIDI out notes and all these kind of things like velocity, there's so much more you can do. It is utterly ridiculous. You can also send things like, they're called CCs, control changes. So these can be for the modulation wheels, for a bunch of things, sustain pedals, expressive parameters, even with automation. MIDI is so important for automation. You look at Logic, you can go in and automate things and change the velocity as you go along. So there's so much more. You can do program changing. You can have a patch that you're using and change that. Even like, here's the thing, even guitar players, and let's see if I can grab this thing. I'm pretty sure this thing does MIDI as well. Yeah, of course it does. So I have this beast over here. Let me show you. This is the IK Multimedia iRig Stomp. Yeah, it's a beast. And even this has MIDI outputs on it. Right? Why is that? Well, you can add extra MIDI controllers to this. Even most guitar pedals these days will come with some form of MIDI controller to it as well. So this is the thing. For the longest time, here's this lie that was fed to me about MIDI. That you're a loser. You're not a true metalhead if you're not... I'm trying to find my pedal. I can't find it. Where are you? There it is. I'm pretty sure this has MIDI as well. Yes, of course it does. This is the Tonex pedal. Yeah. And look, Tonex pedal, MIDI in and out as well, as you can see. So for guitars and adding controllers and stuff, there's so much use for MIDI. It is just ridiculous. But the one thing that always, you've got things like now SysX, you can sync your clock. So you, and remember external instruments as well too. So you might have an external synth with sounds in it. You can sync all that up too. So you can sync up controllers even, like this. Like this sucker. See this thing here? This is a little nano controller. with like your solo, mute, record, volume, you can do a thing called MIDI learn, or as Apple like to call it, learn MIDI. Yeah. So when I'm using my DAW, I can MIDI learn and make this button do things. I haven't actually, it's called Learn MIDI in iOS now, apparently. Can we come over here? What do we do? Let's try it. MIDI learn. I love the way, where is MIDI learn? I don't even know where it is. I think it's up the top here. There we go, MIDI assignments. Now I don't have this plugged in, but I can do it with my keyboard, I think. Let's see. So it's learning. I don't know what it's learning. What can we do? What can we send this to? Maybe we'll come over here. Can we MIDI learn anything in here? Yes, I can MIDI learn this little dial here. If I click it and then I turn something on my thing, which I'm going to use this, and there we go. That's how easy MIDI learn is. You just set it to learn, pick where you want it to learn, and now this dial here is controlling the volume. And you can go in and set all this stuff up, yeah? And you can see up the top here, it's set to CC74 because each of these notes, each of these dials that are on this thing or any controller have a CC number attached to them. Every note has a CC number. And so it's really easy to do this crazy stuff. I just love. But the one thing I'm trying to get to, so there's a bit of MIDI learn for you. Stop learning. I've had enough of learning for today. I've learned enough. Let's close that. The other thing for me that I struggled for the longest time was understanding, all right, so there's 16 tracks. Yes, MIDI has 16 outs. It can even do crazy things like take a MIDI drum kit and then split each kit into different tracks via multiple MIDI outs. But here in AUM, the last thing we'll talk about today is the 16 channels. So yes, MIDI comes with 16 channels. What's the best way to explain it? I did have something written here about it. 16 logical channels per port. So 1 to 16 allowing multi-timbral operation. So channel 1 could be a piano, channel 2 could be strings. Now, not only can you do this on something like in AUM, right, where I might want to say, let's do this. We'll just create 2 tracks here. We'll put a piano on one and we'll put some strings on the other. Now, if I connect my keyboard to both of these, it's going to play both. We'll just change this sound quickly. And then we've got to play our featured arts and get the hell out of here. So, sounds awesome. But I might want to be able to play my keyboard like this, and I want to be able to switch between the two. Say I'm playing live, yeah, and I want to play piano in a bit, and I don't want those strings there. Well, here's where it gets cool. So I can come in here, and obviously we can scroll down, and it shows us our 16 channels of MIDI, right? Here's 16 channels. I can turn all these off. So none are showing, and I can make the piano be on channel 1. That's it. So only channel 1 will be for piano. And if I do the same here for the synth, scroll down, turn off all, and just make the synth 2, now when I play my piano, it's only coming through and the strings aren't. Because from the keyboard, because it's MIDI, I can come over here and hit shift, and now I can hit, and now we're playing through MIDI channel 2. With a shift, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can go through all 16 channels. Let me show you close. You can see, watch this light here, right? As it goes through each channel. And it's numbered. So channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way up to 16. So live in a performance, I can separate this, bang, easy. Let's go back to channel 2. So from one fucking keyboard, I could have 16 instruments here and in a live performance be able to just switch with a real keyboard back and forth through all these instruments. It's ridiculous, yeah? And just coming back to close off, see this? You can see this setup with the routing. The keyboard is going out into these two. It's pretty simple to see something like this with the grid. All right, we're out of here today. This was never meant to be a lesson. It's just meant to say, you know what? Don't judge things too quickly. That's what I did. I overlooked MIDI for a really long time. I don't have any regrets because I still got to make music. But, you know, kind of look at something that you're not familiar with and don't write it off. Give it a go. It might help you make even better music. MIDI is really cool and it's here to stay and it's going to get better and better. 2.0 is out. We have things like MPE. I've barely scratched the surface. It's up to you now to go and mess around with MIDI, yeah? Go and get a controller. Go and get a cheap controller. They're cheap as chips these days. And play some piano. You got some great stuff in Logic to help you make your best music. You've got things like auto piano players. And, you know, there's just an opportunity to learn from MIDI, yeah? Learn something. So MIDI can teach you things that you didn't understand. So hopefully this is, I don't know, got your juices thinking to make something a little bit different because that's what it's all about. Let's get out of here for today. Pete Johns is up next. He's got a premiere because he's away in a secret location that only I know of and maybe Thomas. Thomas knows as well too. We're going to go out like we do now each and every week here on The Rant by playing a brand new song by our featured artist. Today's featured artist is Tremor Bear, Clayton Von Kluge, and Hugh Caldwell. This is Night Tremors. It was released like 2 hours ago. So let's get into it. Do the things that make you happy. Mistakes make you better. We'll all rise together, stay awake. And you know what I'm going to say. Let's fucking oats. Let's do it. Boom. Ah.